Welcome to this YouTube video. Today we are going to talk about while loops, the C programming language. So imagine a scenario where you want to repeat a certain block of code as long as a particular condition holds true. That's where while loops come into play. It's like having your code on repeat until a specific condition is met. So we're just going to constantly repeat a specific block of code while a condition holds true, while a condition is met. So right here on my screen right now, I have a variable called num and it is equated to a value of 50. So let's say, for example, we want to print out all the values less than 50. That will be from like 0 to 49. We can use a while loop for that. So I'm just going to write the structure of a while loop and explain how it goes. I'm going to say while, I'm going to just type the while, then open a parenthesis, then open my curly bracket. So let's explain what is going on here. This is the basic structure of a while loop. We have the while keyword, we have the parenthesis. Now inside this parenthesis is where we write the condition that we are trying to check. That is, if that condition holds true, then the code block inside the while loop is going to run. But if it doesn't hold true, then it's going to exit out of the while loop. So right now we want to write a while loop that prints out all the values that are less than 50. So what we're now going to say is we're going to say while num is greater than 0. And what we're now simply going to do is say num minus minus. Now, why are we doing this? What we're saying is while the value of 50 is while the value of num is greater than 0, it means that we want to print out all the values constantly. So what we need to do now here is we need to print it out first. We need to print f, and we'll say %d because it's a number that we are trying to print out. And then I'm going to just pass in num. So what we're simply doing here is we are checking while number is greater than 0. Is number greater than 0? Yes, it's currently 50. Then we're going to print out 50. Then we're going to decrement the value of num. So at this point, num is now going to become 49. Then it's going to come and check this while loop again. Is 49 greater than 0? Yes. It's going to run the code block. I'm just going to put a line break here to show you how it looks like when we run it in the terminal. So I'm just going to come here and run this block of code right now, and it should print 0 to 50 right now in the terminal. Okay, so as you can see, it's printed 1 to 50, or from 50 to 1, and you can see that it stopped at 1. So if I said if while num is greater than or equals to 0, if I run that now, it should print from 50 0. So you can see that we used a while loop in order to print out all the values less than 60. It's just continuously ran this code block that is inside the while loop while this condition held true. Now, if I remove this num minus minus, for example, I want you to take note of what will happen. Once I press play, it's just going to continue printing 50 for eternity, because all we said was while num is greater than or equals to 0, then print the value of num. So it's always good to take notes that in a while loop you could have a bug that could make it run forever. So this num minus minus is kind of like the line that helps us check, that helps us keep track of this to prevent the loop from running forever. So that is what a while loop does basically. It just helps us repeat a specific code block while a condition holds true. Now we are going to work on a very cool guessing game, and we're going to make use of while loops. We're going to make use of a while loop and conditionals to build this guessing game. So let's move on to the next step. So it's just going to be an explanation of what you could do with a while loop, and you could do a whole lot more. And generally in programming, there are going to be a lot of things that you would like to redo over and over again until a certain condition is met. So that is why while loops are important. All right, so let's build the guessing game. So let me just explain what it's going to be. So imagine like We're just going to create a basic program that simulates a guessing game. So the user is going to guess a secret number that we're going to specify our code. And then we're going to keep asking the user until they get it correctly. Now also knows that the user will have a specific number of attempts that they can try, so that they don't just keep guessing forever. So let's say we're going to set it to 3 guesses. So if they don't guess the number in 3 guesses, it means that they have lost the game. So what I would first like to do at the top is that I would like to declare some certain variables. So I'm going to first create the first variable, and it's going to be called guess. So this guess is going to be assigned to whatever the user has guessed in the we're going to ask the user, and it's going to be whatever number the user guesses. Now the next one we're going to create is attempt. So this is just going to help us track the number of attempts that a user has done. So we're just going to equate this to 0, because when the user first starts, the number of attempts is going to be 0. Then something else that we need to specify is the number of attempts that a user can have. So we're going to create one and say int max attempts, and let's set that to 3, because we only want a user to be able to guess 3 times. Now the last thing that we need to actually now specify is a random number. So let's just say we want our random number to, or our secret number, let's say we want it to be like 10, for example. Right now we have all the variables that we need. Let's now proceed to write the code that will actually run this guessing game. So first, we would like to print to the user that they should select we would like to print to user that welcome to the guessing game. Then we're going to write the for loop. I'm going to say printf. I'm going to say welcome to our guessing game, and I'll just put a new line here. Then the next thing that we're going to do is we now need to write a for loop. Now the logic behind our code is that in the for loop, we're going to say while the number of attempts is less than the max attempt, then we're going to write some code that is going to ask the user to enter whatever they think the number is, to enter their guess, because we want to restrict the number of attempts that a user has. I'm going to say while attempt is less than max attempts. That is, while the number of tries that the user has done is less than the maximum number that they can do. So we're going to run this code inside the while loop. So what we want to do first is that we want to ask the user to enter a number that is between 1 and 100. I'm going to say printf enter number between 1 and 100. And then what I will now do is I'm going to use a scanf to collect the user input. I'm going to say scanf, and in here we're just going to collect the user's input. So I'm going to say %d, because we're trying to collect an integer, and I will say percent guess, because we want to store whatever the user has entered in the guess variable. Now after we've collected that, what we now need to do is we need to write a few if statements. So we want to say if our guess is equals to secret number, that is, if whatever the user has guessed is equals to secret number, then what do we now want to do? We just want to print f and say that congratulations, you passed this, you have guessed the secret number. You have guessed a secret number. Now what we now need to do next is that we need to break. Now let me just explain what this is. Now the break is just another keyword that will help us leave while loop. So if like the user guesses the secret number on the first try, obviously it means that the user is going to have 2 more attempts So what we now need to do is, instead of having the program run two more times, we're just going to break out of the while loop because the user had already guessed it right on the first try, or it could be on the second try. So it's just a way of helping us ensure that when the user has gotten the number correctly, it breaks out of the while loop and it prints out, informs the user that they have gotten it correctly, and it breaks out of the while loop. Now, what we now need to do is we need to create an else, and we're just going to print out a message saying wrong guess, try again. I'm going to say print f, and I'm going to say I'm going to type wrong guess. Then we'll tell the user to try again. We'll create a new line here. So after doing all this, what we now need to do is we need to increment the number of attempts that this user has. So we're going to say attempt plus plus. Now also note that this is the same as saying attempt is equals to attempt plus 1. So we can use any one we want, but attempts plus plus just seems shorter. But we can also leave it this way. Now what we simply need to do is we will now come down outside the while loop, and then we're going to say if attempt, sorry, writing Python, if attempt is equals to max attempt. That is, once the user has guessed 3 times, it's going to break out of this loop. And after it has broken out of this loop, we now want to write an if statement that's going to inform the user that sorry, you have used all the attempts that you could take. So I'm just going to print out a message and say print f, you have reached the maximum number of attempts. I'll just create a new line right there. So this should be all the code we need to write in order to make this work. So let's go over it again. We have 4 variables. We have a secret number which is specified in our code. We have the guess which the user is going to compute. We have the number of attempts that the user has taken. We have the maximum number of attempts that any user can have. And we now want to print out to the user, welcome to our guessing game. Then we have a while loop right here that checks while the number of attempts that the user has taken is less than the maximum number of attempts that any user can take. We want to now ask the user, okay, enter a number between 1 and 100. After this has been printed out, the user enters the number right here. And then we now write to our conditions to check if the guess is equals to the secret number. It means that the user has guessed the number. So we're printing out congratulations, you have guessed the secret number. And then we are breaking out of the while loop. Then if the user guessed it wrong, then obviously we want to just print out a message saying wrong guess, try again. Then we are going to increment the number of attempts by 1, because after this process, it means that the user had already attempted once. So once that is done, we now leave the for loop. So the only way we can break out of this for loop and this while loop, the only way we can break out of this while loop is if the user guesses it correctly, or if the user has used up all the attempts that they can have. That is when this while loop can be broken out of. Then once that condition has been met, or once the while loop has been broken out of, this condition is now run. If the attempt is equals to the max number of attempts, means that we have reached the maximum number of attempts. So what we now need to do right now is run this code, see how well it works. So I'm going to run it right now. Run this. So once I run this, okay, let me just clear out my screen right now. So once I run this, it's going to ask me, it's going to say, welcome to our guessing game, enter a number between 1 and 100. So let's say I enter 1, it says wrong guess, try again. If I enter 2, it says wrong guess, try again. And if I enter a wrong number once more, It's going to say wrong guess, try again, but it now prints out you have reached the maximum number of attempts, and then the game ends. So it means that once we've tried 3 times, the game is going to end. So let's now say, for example, I enter the correct number, or the wrong number the first time, the wrong number the second time, and I enter the correct number the last time. So let's say I enter 10. It's going to say congratulations, you have guessed the secret number, and then the program ends. So that is how while loops basically run. While the attempt inside the parentheses holds true, it's just going to execute whatever code block is inside whatever code block it contains. That is how while loops run. In the next video, we're going to talk about do while loops. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.